All right, let's get into it. We're talking about the possibility of Keenan Allen and Matt Pryor making their way back to Chicago in free agency. Now, just so we're clear, this was recorded before the Bears signed Olamide Zaccheaus at receiver. That could definitely shake things up for Allen, but it doesn't necessarily shut the door completely. Just something to keep in mind. Now, two notable Bears free agents are still out there, and the question is, should they bring them back? Matt Pryor and Keenan Allen remain available, and there's a lot to consider. Let's start with Pryor, because honestly, he was one of the better surprises for Chicago last season. When they signed him, it looked like he was just a camp body, maybe a depth piece. But not only did he make the team, he ended up starting most of the season, thanks to the Nate Davis situation. And you know what? He played the best football of his career. Not saying he was dominant, but he held his own. Brad Biggs of the Tribune pointed out that Pryor earned over $1 million through the NFL's performance-based pay system, ranking 5th in the league. Translation? He outperformed his contract in a big way. For a guy on a veteran minimum deal, that's impressive. The big question is whether another team sees him as a starter. Could someone like Houston take a shot at him? They just traded for Ed Ingram, and you could argue Pryor is better. But if Chicago brings him back, it's as a backup. Maybe he's waiting for a chance to start somewhere else, but a guy who can play both guard and tackle. That's valuable depth. And with Braxton Jones banged up, they might need all the help they can get. Let's talk about the offensive line situation. Bill Murray is an interesting piece, but he's coming off a major injury and hasn't played much in the NFL. Ricky Stromberg, more of a pure center. Then you've got guys like Ryan Bates. Solid when healthy, but injuries were a real issue last season. If it were up to me, I'd cut Bates and sign Matt Pryor right now. Cutting Bates frees up $4 million. Give that money to Pryor. Need to bump it to $5 or $6 million? Fine. That's still a low-end starter, high-level backup price. And unlike Bates, Pryor was reliable last year. He was available, did what was asked, and played at a steady, solid level. Now, Pryor might still be holding out hope for a starting job. And honestly, in a league desperate for better offensive line play, someone could give him that shot. But if that door closes, Chicago should try to bring him back. You sell him on the number 6 offensive lineman role. First guy off the bench if a tackle or guard goes down. That's valuable. Look at Dan Skipper in Detroit. Ben Johnson used him as an extra lineman at times. Pryor could fill a similar role. It's still an option as long as he's unsigned. What do you think? Should the Bears bring him back? Now, let's move on to Keenan Allen, one of the bigger surprises still on the market. It's rare to see a receiver of his caliber sitting in free agency this long. He's still a starting-level guy in the league. Maybe not a WR1 anymore, but as a number 2 or even a number 3 working the slot on a good team? That's a role he can still thrive in. Last season, his production dipped a bit. But does that mean he's done? Far from it. Let's break down why he's still available and what his future might look like. Keenan Allen isn't quite the player he used to be, but let's be real. He can still get open. He's lost a step, sure, but the route running is still sharp. He can still be a productive receiver in the right situation. Now, during the season, he hopped on a podcast. Think it was with David Kaplan, but don't quote me on that. And he was asked about his free agency plans. His answer? He either wanted to stay put or go back to LA. Makes sense. He spent over a decade there, played college ball at Cal, and is clearly comfortable on the West Coast. So let's look at the possibilities. Start with the Rams. They gave Davante Adams a massive $46 million deal and already have Puka Nacua. They did move on from Cooper Kupp, so there's a possible opening. But would Allen take a cheaper deal to make it happen? Hard to say. How about the Chargers? They already brought back Mike Williams for $6 million. Would they add Allen too? Maybe. But then their receiver room looks a little crowded. Allen, Williams, Ladd McConkey, and Quentin Johnston. Feels like a group without a true number 1. More like a mix of 2s and 3s. Might just make more sense for them to grab someone in the draft. Now, if Allen wants to stay out west, the Raiders might be the best fit. They've got Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, but not much else at receiver. They also just brought in Geno Smith, so adding a reliable veteran target could make sense. The 49ers are another option. They traded Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk is coming off a big injury. They signed Demarcus Robinson, who had a solid year, but Allen is still the better player. The question is, would he get enough targets there? Like the Chargers, they've got a bunch of 2s and 3s, but no dominant guy. Seattle could be in play. Sam Darnold is there now, and they lost 2 of their top 3 receivers. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett remain, but Jackson Smith and Jigba is more of a slot guy. Same as Allen at this stage. Do they really need 2 slot receivers? Not so sure. And then there's Arizona. Not technically the West Coast, but Scottsdale and Phoenix are spots athletes love. Kyler Murray needs weapons, and Allen could be a solid veteran presence. Bottom line, Allen has options. But where does he fit best? That's the real question. Could Keenan Allen land in Arizona? Sure, they've got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson on the outside, and Allen could take over the slot. That could work. But if he's really limiting his options to either Chicago or the West Coast, he might need to rethink that strategy. Either that, or maybe, just maybe, the Bears are still in the mix if the price is right. I'll be honest, I originally wrote this one off. Figured Allen would get somewhere around $15 million per year. PFF projected 2 years, $25 million. That felt too rich for the Bears, not because he isn't good, but because DJ Moore and Rome Odunze need to be the focal points of the passing game. Rome, in particular, has to get a bigger target share. Can't be paying Allen top-tier money when your 2 main guys need the ball. That said, if the price comes down, different story. Allen's still a good player. Last year was weird. Dealt with a heel issue, had some drops, but also had some big moments. Tore up Detroit on Thanksgiving, put up numbers against Minnesota. And Caleb Williams, he's already said on the St. Brown Bros podcast that Allen is one of the best players he's ever played with. That chemistry matters. Let's be clear, the Bears don't need a high-end WR3. But is Tyler Scott that guy? Probably not. So if Allen doesn't come back, they'll have to add someone, either through free agency or the draft. If you can get him at $8 million, maybe that makes sense. But here's the key. If Allen returns, he has to understand his role. He's the 3rd guy, no question. DJ Moore and Rome Odunze are the primary weapons. That doesn't mean ignoring Allen in the game plan, but the offense isn't running through him anymore. He's a reliable target on 3rd down, a security blanket for Caleb Williams. That's his role now. So if the price is right and Allen buys into that, sure, bring him back. If not, move on. Simple as that. Now, who's going to be the Bears' WR3 in 2025? If you think it's Allen, let's hear it. If you've got another name, Cooper Kupp maybe, throw it out there. Speaking of Kupp, there's talk of teams willing to offer him up to $12 million per year. That's too much. Same as Allen. If the number gets too high, the Bears should be out. That's it for this one. Free agency rolls on, the draft is coming up, and we'll keep tracking all the latest Bears news and rumors. Stay locked in.